from the beginning, when I was a little kid, I always had this inclination towards something. I didn't know what it was, but I knew after death, there can't be just blackness. It can't be just nothing. So as a kid, I feel like everyone had this curiosity, right? And as you grow up, you think, who made us? How were we made? What is out there in the world? What is out there in space? Is there a God? How are humans made? So I had this natural curiosity, and then, so back then, that was fitrah, right? Yes. And that fitrah was that inclination towards Allah. So as I grew up, external society started coming in, right? They started talking, maybe your parents. My parents was Buddhist, growing up in the West as well, and you had your friends, you had your teachers. So all this external society kind of made me go away from that a bit, right?
Were they practicing Buddhists, your parents?
They went to temples, but not as much, right?
Okay.
They were more agnostic.
Okay.
Growing up as a teen, as a primary school kid, I always prayed, and every time something went wrong, I would always, for some reason, last resort, I would actually put my hands out and actually ask someone out there, something out there, and that was just pure natural instincts, right? So it's crazy that that right there, and me realizing it now that was Allah speaking to me, that I just didn't have the knowledge of it.
So when did you first make contact with the idea of Islam?
Yeah, that's a very good question. When I finished high school, I wanted to be the best version of myself. And how do you do that? By increasing your knowledge. I knew that religion had a lot of knowledge. So I wanted to study every single religion that are out there, because there's so much. Which one's the one, right? I studied Christianity, I studied my roots, Buddhism, I studied Judaism, and then I actually left Islam for last, because I was like,
yeah, most people do.
The propaganda around it and the stigma and the perspective around it has this type of perspective towards it. And I learned about Christianity, did all my research. Everything had truth, but it didn't really tick that box until I found Islam. Islam, for me, had evidence, had receipts. Everything just felt right. When I asked a question, they had a response. When I asked something that was offensive, they were calm, and they were like, yes, I'll show you. So it was more of a open hands. They allowed me to feel invited, rather than come, or you're going to go to the hellfire. Come, or you're going to go to hell, as Christians would tell me.
Yeah.
Or Buddhism would tell me, you have to detach yourself from the whole world and not eat meat, and you know what I mean? Islam was practical, and it was logical for me. So I did a ton of study. I watched YouTube, I read books about it. My friend actually gave me the Qur'an. For me, I'm a person where when I put my foot in something, I put 2 feet in. So I wanted to, when I found out that there's something here, and I don't know what it is, but I can just feel it. So I'm a barber, and I would meet people from all walks of life, including Muslims. Every time I would meet Muslims, we would talk about God, because I'm a very deep thinker, and I'm a very open person. So when people tell me their beliefs, I like to listen with an open slate. And when this Muslim brother told me about Islam, I was very, very intrigued. The next time he came, he gave me a Qur'an.
MashaAllah.
And I was like, wow. So for the next 2 to 3 months, I read it. And the second chapter of the Qur'an, Surah Baqarah, I read this one verse, and it said, those who disbelieve, we have covered their heart, sealed their eyes, and put a veil on themselves. And that made me realize that society has put a veil and a seal around your eyes to see the truth. And at that moment, I saw the truth. From then on, I talked to the brother, scheduled a time with Sheikh Badon, went into the mosque for my first time ever. He said to me, look around the mosque. There's angels looking at us right now. And that's what it was that gave me that intrinsic feeling that I couldn't describe to you right now as I speak, because it's an internal thing that you can't elaborate. I didn't even say anything because I was speechless. Talked to Sheikh for 20 minutes, I look at the clock, it's actually been 2 hours that we spoke. Can you believe that? And by the end of it, he said, do you believe that there's one God? I said, yes. Do you believe that that one God sent messengers? I said, yes. Then you're a Muslim. I said, then let's do it. So at that exact moment, on my first time going to the mosque, I reverted that night, the 13th of March 2023, 10 days before my first Ramadan.